because we had to,
I don't have my
if you're
hearing aids,
gifted
maybe
class, you had
at least
to walk
read,
3
huh?
blocks to a
Yes.
church for class.
Good morning.
Are we,
We'll say
are we
that's
live?
college prep.
Okay,
'cause
we're
we have
live.
to ride the
You're
aisles
live?
and walk.
Okay.
So
Good
this
morning,
is-
it's 9 o'clock. I'll call the
Things have
Sewage
changed.
Administration, Water Board Finance Administration Committee to order. Before you call the roll, I'm going to apologize right now. I've left my hearing aids are at my house at home, so when you speak, if you'd speak up, I'd greatly appreciate it. Now I guess the whole world knows I'm deaf. Special Counsel, would you please call the roll?
Director Sloss.
I'm here.
Director Howard. Here. Director Pacho. Director Guzman. Here. Director Kennedy.
Here.
Chair, we do have a quorum.
That's great. Thank you very much. We will now proceed to our presentation item, financial summary update from our CFO, Gray Lewis, right?
Well, thanks everyone. Great to be here with you this morning in the rain, but lots going on at activities since we last met. We happy to receive the support on the contract funding for contract 1420, which Ron's going to speak about. We certainly appreciate the support, the City Council and the administration on identifying additional $21 million commitment of funding. And also the IAB, $10 million was allocated in our last IAB meeting. So very, very helpful, appreciative on all those fronts. And also very busy with the task force items in the month of March. And then our audit is underway right now. So we're keeping busy with all those things, but I'm just gonna run through the regular highlights on the February financials. Feel free if there are any questions, stop me. February operating revenues was 24 million, just a little bit above budgeted on the water and sewer revenue. For year to date, we're a little 2.2 million below the budgeted. So early in the year, the drainage taxes will start coming through in March based on the city delay and timing of bills. We have started seeing that now, though. Other revenues, 3.5 million for the month of February, is primarily the fair share monthly allocation amount, and then operating expenses were 20.2 million below the budgeted number for water, sewer, and also non-cash expenses. On our next slide, monthly cash collections, March, 22.5 million was higher than the previous 2 months and the recent monthly averages. Very happy to launch the Promise Pay program. February 8th went live for all of our customers, provides opportunity for a software that's pretty user-friendly to have a payment plan.
Do you attribute the stronger months, certainly we're a lot stronger than we were last February and January. Is that Promise Pay, you think, doing that?
Those numbers are a portion, like through today, or yesterday was like, we had collected 1.2 million Promise Pay payments. There's like 6,200 plans got signed up. 167 of those were completed, meaning they paid off their arrearage already in a few weeks. So here in the coming months, March, April, we'll see how we can compare it to what it was earlier without Promise Pay. So very happy with that program getting underway. Looking forward to more, getting more people signed up. We've got pretty good feedback overall. There at the bottom in the total receivable categories continue to have similar numbers, and we're working with the allowance for doubtful accounts with the audited numbers. We work with our auditors. We look at actual cash collections for the first quarter that came in through 24 to basically make that estimate. So continue to work on all fronts on these different receivable amounts.
Great. I hate to do this. I know we talked about it last month, but the total receivables column headed by that, would you just go through those numbers quickly for us, make sure everybody understands?
Yep. Yeah. First category would be just regular receivables that are turning over every month. 30.1 million. So normal customers get billed. Everyone gets billed every month, as we know. The next category is what we call past due, or 56.8 million of arrearages. So they're greater than 60 days. However, there is no open service order for a high bill investigation. So we either need to hear from the customer or work with the customer, get on a payment plan.
But we expect those to be collectible. Those are good receivables, we think.
There's issues with the backlog, as we see in the more detailed slides, because when you look at how long it's been out there,
Yeah.
that's where sort of this forensic accounting exercise is needed with your true outliers, people, residential owing greater than, say, $2,500 that's been sitting out there for 3 or 4 years. The 30 million is under investigation, so we have roughly 4,500 at the end of February. Those amounts, come out to, say, between 5,000 and 6,000 on average. So those are actively being investigated, some type of issues trying to be rectified.
What's that, Janet?
30 million under
And
invested.
then finally, closed accounts would be customers is
4,500 accounts is what he said, so 4,500 and 140,000 is not good. but it's
large.
understandable.
Oh, these are dollar, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Numbers person.
so,
And then the closed accounts are people who they're doubtful will never collect that. Right. So that's the 131. Then we have 110 allowance for doubtfuls. If we have 60, we have 30 million below 60 days, it would seem that,
yeah, that's certainly, one could argue about, debate about the estimate, if it's a little high, if you're really going to collect all the 30, some of those customers may be the same ones that let things age over 90 and 120. So it's judgmental, but we'll be updating our allowance reserve, as I said, through the audit and see where we stand.
okay, thank you.
Can I make a suggestion? I really think we need to up this on our list of priorities. I know we have the pay, what do you call pay?
Janet, sorry, can you get a little close to the mic for me? You're on camera.
Sorry. Okay. I really think we need to come up, make this a top priority to investigate options for addressing this issue. It has been going on and on and on, and I know, I think maybe a task force like we've had for the AMI thing, Ghassan, is that a possibility, or hiring outside advisors, something, because when only $30 million out of how much is current? That's
Yeah, so
ridiculous.
we're on the same page, Director Howard. So we are in the midst of doing a couple things. One, we're outsourcing an investigation unit, basically for people to go out on our behalf and reread meters, look for leaks, do anything that would bring clarity to why there is an account in conflict or why it's being disputed. So that is happening as we speak, about 12 to 15 people being hired to create the data and relevant information to allow us to make better judgments on behalf of the customers. So that's happening. And as you know, we're talking to legislators in terms of proposed bills that may allow the state or the city to bring us outside resources from, as analysts, accountants, computer folks to help kind of close the deal. And so we're focusing very, very intently on that. The numbers are not, obviously, these are as of March or March 1st, right? February, I'm sorry. So the numbers are changing. The 4,500 are definitely have been reduced significantly. I mean, Gray is 1 month, so if he is to report today, unofficially, we're closer to 2,500, bringing the numbers owed or amount written off much, much less. So we're on the same track, but the biggest pile that we need to manage is the 56 million of where there's no ongoing negotiation with our customers. That's what we need to do, and we're looking for some tools from the state or the city to allow us to proactively start visiting these accounts and have a more binding final judgment that we can pursue. Because unless we send people a shut-off notice, they have no motivation to call us because they're getting the water but they're not sending us a bill, if that makes sense.
So do we need more people to shut off accounts?
I mean, that would be my last resort. I would rather put pressure or put focus, rather, not pressure, on us communicating better with our customers to get them to, just like the Promise Pay is doing, getting them to pay and become, a good standing customer versus losing access to water.
But we have closed accounts. That's the issue. And I mean, do we need to up our deposit to cover this? I know that's tough because it's hard for people, especially starting work and whatnot, to be putting money up front. But to be left with $15 million from closed accounts, that's just not viable.
Those are the toughest, that's the toughest pile.
Closed
and
accounts?
Closed accounts, because people leave
10%, right?
town, they hide. And we rely on collection agencies to go after them, and it hasn't been as fruitful as, we had hoped for. Increasing the deposit isn't as effective as you would think, because it's $100 now. What do you up it to? 200, 300? It becomes very punitive. And at the end of the day, if somebody owes me 1,000 or
We could push-
2,000,
we could push back all
doesn't-
over that.
it doesn't really give you much more leverage.
Well,
Having the ability to lien the property where it's owed is the thing that we need. I mean, going back to one of the suggestions from the task force, because if it's a renter, they come here for some period of time,
Right.
leave, decide they're going to stop paying the bill at some point, because it's no secret that we're not shutting
Yeah.
people off
Our
very, very
ability
quickly.
to lean against the property while the account is in a tenant's name is what we need the ability to do. Because
We don't
unless
have the ability to do that.
we do not have the
That's what
ability.
we want.
That's what we want,
Yeah.
yes. But it's a very dicey proposal, and I don't know how much support we have.
Is it possible for us to say we're not going to open accounts in the tenant's name, we're only going to open them in the landowner's name? Because that would work. Because the tenant moves out without paying the bill, we tell the landowner, we're not turning the water back on. You can't rent it again until you pay it.
I mean, I think that would be a great policy, because it really brings more accountability to, the account, because there's a collateral associated with that, yes.
The landowner, and I'm not trying to get them in trouble, but the landowner has a benefit here if a transient moves in for 6 months, maybe never pays the bill except for the deposit, then it's able to be rented again. And so essentially, it's $100 or $200 a month less rent. I mean, for all we know, he's saying, hey, move in here for 3 months, you don't have to pay the water, they won't do anything about it, you can leave town. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there are enough open bills now that there's probably opportunity for us to request that, unless Yolanda, I mean, I'm not asking for opinion now, but maybe something to consider as the policy versus
We'll
the
research
law.
the policy change, but just FYI, we find that increasing the deposit on commercial accounts as opposed to residential accounts is an appropriate policy change. And Gray and Renee have already reviewed that, and will come out with those new numbers soon. But also, we can take a look at only opening the account in the landlord's name. But there's also a process by which the team is also looking at, is actually making sure that once the account is closed, it immediately goes back into the landlord's name. We had a process in place some years ago that once a tenant moved out, that account was actually put back into the landlord's name, or that meter was actually pulled.
Or make the landlord a guarantor.
Yes.
But have we done a comprehensive piece of research to find out what our options are? Or are we just doing this piecemeal at this point?
We have looked, considering we had a bankruptcy a couple months ago, a year ago, we have looked at it comprehensively, and the rules and regulations that are in draft form are now being reviewed, and we will come to the board. Renee and Gray will come to the board with those proposed changes.
I think at a minimum, I'm sorry.
I'd like something that actually shows the options before we get down to.
Okay.
Besides the recommendation, because the policy is a board decision.
Right, right,
At a
yes.
minimum, I think we want to explore having the landowner be a guarantor.
Co-guarantor.
I don't know, that'd probably take some active, I don't know what, but don't you think? You can't rent it again if he's a
Yeah,
co-guarantor.
I don't know what the options are legally, how you structure it, but
Legally speaking,
the concept would be
the owner needs to be on the hook.
somebody needs to be on the hook.
Yeah, and one more, obviously, fact to share. Having the ability to lien, while is important to have as a tool, it only becomes relevant when the property is being
Sold,
transferred to,
right.
ownership, or if a remortgaging is happening. It could be years, but nonetheless, I would rather have the ability to do it than not. So I'm not arguing against it. I'm just saying it's not an immediate tool that we can use, but it will become effective when ownership changes.
I mean, at least the landlord's going to be on notice, he's going to have a problem, so he or she, that person is going to say, you got to pay your water bill.
Unfortunately, we find the most effective process is when you have the ability to terminate the water services, because that's when customers immediately call you and then begin the negotiation process. We've asked the state, Ugasan and Gray, to provide us with additional resources because we need additional staff to do outreach to people who are not calling us. And when we start calling them, when Renee's team starts calling, that's when the negotiation and the payments start. So we need a significant outreach to that team, to those debtors that are not responding to us. Because if we're not turning off, like Ghassan said,
Why don't we just turn, if they're not responding to us, why don't we just turn it off?
Well, we do, but we have limited resources.
limited resources to be able to do that.
We've turned off a
Ask the
bunch
state for that?
last
For some
month.
help with that?
We're setting
Yes.
notices,
I
right?
mean, if the desire of the board is to increase that effort, there's certainly ways to do that. I mean, again, our goal is to get customers to come to the table and pay versus, I understand.
No, I understand, but if you call, if customers don't come to the table, at some point,
You got to shut them off.
you got to shut them off.
Yeah,
And it's not fair, but the thing that strikes me in all this is how unfair it is to paying customers.
yes.
When you let people just drift.
I think part of the issue administratively is that Renee doesn't have enough team members that will be
We
able
can
to do
increase
the
that,
outreach. And we're
that
trying to increase
resource
that.
even by outsourcing it. If the desire, if there's a collective desire by the board for us to do that, I mean, it would be helpful to
Yes.
formalize that, yes.
How do you formalize that? Is it through a policy that you can present to us?
Could be a resolution, it could
Resolution.
be a directive to us, it could be in any form, and we can prepare some language for the board meeting next week.
And how is city council, how does city council play into this consideration? Because we've had multiple cases in which we are directed not to shut the water. So how do,
There hasn't been an official stance that what had happened in the past during COVID, during Ida. I mean, there was a request, a strong request from the city council for us to consider, but then we were in alignment as a board, and we did just that.
so there could be special considerations, but given the current climate, there would be no reason for us not to enforce this.
That is accurate, yeah. And I mean, as long we're in the right in terms of, we are shutting somebody off legitimately and we're 100% solid, it's well within our rights, and every utility does it. So, and again, the end game is to have the attention and have the customers come and enter into a special payment plan. I mean, we're not saying come pay us every single dollar that you owe us, but let's put you in a good standing column as a customer. So,
Can I make two requests? Yolanda, for the next meeting, would it be possible to get an outline, an analysis of the options we have? Oh, sorry. Would it be possible to get an analysis of the options, a discussion of the options for the board to take, and the committee to take a look at?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and the second one is, Gray, for you, could we get, this is a really helpful column, the total receivables, but could we get next to it what the actual number of accounts are versus
Number of
the
what?
dollar? To have, besides having the dollar amounts for this under 60, over 60, could we get the number of accounts?
Yes,
That's, we have some of that in the
we would
report.
break it out.
We need to put it in
by
one
customer
place.
class on the other slide, but yeah.
We maybe need to redesign this part of it, so it's all in one spot.
All right.
Okay.
So, Hassan, this is for you. In the other committee meeting, we heard, or at least I heard for the first time, super smart meter, right? As an answer to my question about what's the latest technology, and since we would have real-time data through the AMI project, that seemed like the natural flow of progression. And so when I hear that we have a labor challenge that we're addressing, right? Have we taken a look? I know that there was a price tag involved, but if the cost is not a concern, does that put us in a more favorable position? Is that a realistic option if the price tag is covered?
$200, right?
Moving into automation
Yes,
is
in the
where
future.
we are now, and we just started that process. We actually started about over a year and a half in preparation, but we are now swapping meters from the old meters to smart meters, and the goal is by the end of this year to have 70,000 of those, half the population already transferred and enjoying the benefit of the smart meter technology.
Right.
So the data collected, the timeliness, the consistency will all be enjoyed, and this issue will start going away and disappearing by end of 2025.
Perfect.
So, but in the meantime, that's a long enough time to do things to rectify what we're facing.
I maybe didn't hear this exactly right, probably not. We have, is it a $200 delta to buy meters that we can remotely shut off? Wasn't that right?
Yes, so in the last meeting, Becca presented that we only had the ability to shut off, I think, 6% of our customers because those meters are less than the super smart meters. As Becca mentioned that the super smart meters are $300 more. And so I think Director Kennedy is asking, and Director Sloss are asking whether or not we can move forward with the more super smart meters, because it gives us the ability to turn off everyone and not just only 6%.
Well, that's 100 for the dumb ones and 300 for the smart.
Correct.
Smarter. So it's
Yes.
$200 delta on
Yes, $200
140,000
delta.
meters, whatever that number is, it's a big number, but
Not when you look at receivables.
But ultimately, that's going to be part of the proposals. You're going to come up with, these are the different options if we want to enforce shutting down the water service.
We can add that we can work with Gray and Renee and add that as one of the options, but that would be, of course, a fiscal note that I'd have to get from Gray and Renee if we were to invest in additional costs for the meters, because we've already started putting out meters in the ground, and we've already pre-ordered those meters to put in the ground. So that would have to be something that is in the future for meters that we perhaps will move forward with maybe next year, not necessarily this year. Because we've already accounted for and appropriated monies for this year's meters. So that would have to be something in the future for next year's meters.
I did it right.
This
It's
data
$28
does
million.
inform-
We're not going to do that.
It informs the
$8 million
installation schedule.
delta.
I think it makes sense to focus on kind of troubled accounts or customers that are behind. So we're definitely on the same page, working with a smart metering team to use this troubled customer data to feed their process.
And we may be able to focus on having those smart meters, the smarter meters, just for the focused accounts that Gassan and Gray talked about. Instead of having for all 100%, maybe just focus on a specific group of accounts.
Yeah, there was some science that drove the 6% and how they were selected.
We better be watching if we're treating customers differently.
Right, I mean, we're not doing anything different than equipping the meter with
Correct.
technology. And it's the behavior on the other side that would dictate what we do.
Okay.
You answered what was going to be my follow-up question, how we got to the 6%, because I just want to make sure that I'm caught up on that conversation, because that seems to be, just my thought process on technology. When you're aiming at the target, this is something, technology is dynamic, and so when you aim at the target, you're guaranteed to miss it because it's moving.
Yeah.
And so you have to have vision to aim to the future. And so if we're not getting the best technology, I just want to be able to answer to you know, what we're doing and how it works and how it compares. And so if we take, even if it's a slow approach, I just want to make sure we acknowledge, because I had never heard that term, smarter, until yesterday's committee meeting. So when we do roll out those options, I just love to have it addressed so we're clear on where we are, what we are doing, and what we're not doing.
Yep, I hear you.
Thanks.
Yep.
I did the arithmetic, it's $28 million to get the,
But
to
that's
get
for
the
the,
other ones.
that's for the whole system.
I know,
I
I know.
think what we land on is there was a process to decide, well, there's some strategic accounts where this could be valuable, and that's how we arrived at the 6%, right?
I couldn't agree with that more. I'd like to see them all be smart. But I think we have to rely on, for the ones that aren't going to be, the other methods that we've talked about. And Janet, and seeing what the proposals are, I think is a good start on them.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate the feedback. I'll agree on all fronts.
Thanks, everybody.
But I guess to this discussion, the bottom line here on the dashboard, total service disconnect orders 1,080 for the month of February. So that was over February of 2023. So again, this process of consistency and doing roughly 1,000 every month is been going on for over 24 months now, something that hadn't been going the previous 5 years. So all the numbers that you see now are the product of, you know, what happened those historical years, as we've discussed. Otherwise, on the dashboard, the cash on hand, everything, we're above water and sewer at 210 and 220 are required metrics there. So nothing unusual on the dashboard.
Just one last thing on the expenses. We are significantly below budget. So I'm assuming we could deploy some of that unused budget for strike force on collectibles if we wanted to. Sorry to go back, but is that?
Right. Yeah, I need to look closer if it's a timing difference, if what's real. But, you know, as you get further into the year, I hear your point, like it needs to be deployed on these other needs. So we'll take a look at that. Next slide, I just want to highlight for the committee on our debt obligations are similar to what we see each month. We continue to spend down the sewer proceeds, mainly the consent decree completion of the final basin. The two loan applications for the lead service line, $79 million and $5 million on our smart metering funding, go before the State Bond Commission next week. So we're excited to move those along and still hoping to get that federally funded subsidized loan to get the lead service line program going later this year. Next slide is just the CIP schedule. There's no major change orders for the month that impact our current year CIP spending plans. Ron's going to touch on these in a few moments. And then on our monthly capital appropriations disbursements, there's been $19.8 million on CIP month of February. We appropriated additional $6.9 million on our various projects, and for grants, we continue to receive on the same grants that are active, receiving $935,000 in the month of February. The customer experience numbers, similar volumes experienced in February, March, with the actual average wait time for customers. Phone calls was down to 2 minutes and 17 seconds. And our billing statistics were good in terms of total bills issued being 146,000 for the month, slightly lower than January, that was 147.
Can we get a bar on the right side that shows percentage?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's the estimated versus actual percentage. Certainly could add that.
I kind of got to estimate it there.
Include that next month. The total payments for the month were $107,739. And the bottom chart is our past due accounts, relatively flat. This slide depicts the full capturing. If you recall, historically, we didn't have disconnects. So part of this chart would be blank a year or two ago. Now it's not. Happy to see that. And then in February 24, we spiked up with payment plans due to the Promise Pay launch. as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And then these last two slides are getting into the breakout by service class of our bad debts customers and disputed customers between residential, multifamily, and commercial. The change from prior month is about 1.4 million. It's up about 3%. This is what we've been talking about earlier, and just as you recall, the people on payment plans, roughly 6,000, are moving forward with paying off their debts. Those which are not is where we, as we talked about earlier, need to spend time with the outreach efforts. The average time to complete investigation was 130 for the month of February, and total accounts and disputes, as I said, was 4592.
And on this one, is it easy to give us how many are on payment plans?
Yeah,
Did I miss it on there?
yeah, it's, so, absolutely will do. Now, on this slide, we again break it out between the size of the debt, and as you can see, first category here, almost 10,500, less than 500. So those are very ripe targets to get that resolved in the next couple of months, to get them out of that category through the Promise Pay efforts. At the other end of the spectrum, the last two categories, this is residential owing greater than 1,500 or greater than 2,500, that's 6,912 customers. Again, the complexity is high, the number of periods that this built up over, talking years. We've been working with the one consultant we have. It's taken a look at roughly about 200 of these cases, and so the forensics needed to look through and see how many payments were received. Was there an outlier bill? How many times was the meter read? All of those data points so we could pull together and, again, try and propose an option or an ability to target, whether it's contacting the customer individually with a special payment plan arrangement, providing some type of credit if possible. So those are where, just looking at numbers, over 6,900, if you just spend an hour on each account with looking through the forensic history to try and determine what category they belong in, what buckets, what are the next steps, a team of 10 people could spend, roughly 3 to 4 months, looking through all this data. That's where the additional support and analytical skill set is needed to really tackle these.
So do we need to hire a data analyst?
Yes, need additional support. So we've received those couple of the proposals that came as a result of the task force. So I think we'll hopefully be heading that direction. But as we stand now, just using one or two people, again, it's the numbers, the volume is too large to commit to taking out the backlog in any reasonable time period. But with a team of people, those professional forensic firms that do this, look at the large data sets, look at a way to use artificial intelligence, other data analytics to cut down the time that would be required to spend.
Great. I keep going back to this is the cell, I think now, it keeps me up at night. Over 4,000 individual residential accounts, over 2,500. Do we know if service is disconnected? Do we have a hold matrix that's a hold when we get to a certain dollar amount that triggers a hold on the bill, or do we cut off service?
We turn off service, yeah. So each billing cycle, those larger debtors are prioritized for service disconnects.
So we don't wait till they get the 90 plus days. They can hit a dollar threshold and we engage.
Yes.
Okay. So out of those 4,300 accounts, is that the threshold or is it higher? How do we?
Well,
do you know?
I think it was primarily dollar driven, and it could have been historically turned off at one time. They came in and made some type of payment to get the water back on. Went on a payment plan, they broke the payment plan.
So a variety of scenarios.
All type of scenarios could have occurred.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions from the committee? All the prepared remarks.
Gotta figure this out.
We agree. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Hey, Craig? Yeah. Oh, thanks very much. Sorry, I didn't hear it. All right, now we're going to proceed with our 11 action items, all of which will follow the presentation of the General Superintendent's recommendations or Deputy General Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 11 total items for the General Superintendent's packet this morning. 5 contract renewals, 2 contract change orders, 2 amendments, and 2 final acceptances. We'll take the first for the contract awards and renewal sections, those 5 in global. The first is Resolution R050-2024. That's award of contract 1420. That's our West Power Complex Phase 1 installation and commissioning contract between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Fisher's Barnes joint venture. This is one of our last major contracts, one of the most important contracts to actually connect all the components from the previous contracts with buying stack previous converters, turbine 7, transformers, installing a cable. 1 bid was received with this contract, a joint venture of Fisher's Barnes in the amount of $53.34 million. We'll acknowledge that the bid did exceed the initial budget estimate. The engineer record as well as Sewage and Water Board staff did complete a thorough analysis, a technical review of the bid to confirm that its cost reasonableness. And as Gray indicated early in his briefing, that additional funding has been reallocated via the IEB, as well as additional funding committed by the city of New Orleans to cover the funding gap. And the General Superintendent's office is recommending the lowest responsive and responsible bidder to be Fisher's Barnes, a joint venture, in the amount of $53.34 million. The second resolution is R057-2024. That's a renewal, third renewal of contract 8164, skilled and unskilled labor for maintenance between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and JEI Solutions. This is a contract that we supplement our skilled staff and unskilled staff, mainly in our facility maintenance department, composed of various trades, besides laborers, welders, machinists, electricians, to help supplement our staff to keep operations ongoing. This is the third renewal in the amount of $4.86 million and extending the contract period to June 6 to next year of 2025, to May 31st of 2025, under the same terms and conditions of the contract. General Superintendent's office is requesting approval of the third renewal. The third resolution is R059-2024. That's the first renewal of contract 2164. That's a water main replacement and extension at scattered sites, locations throughout Orleans Parish between Sewage and Water Board and Wallace E. Drennan. This contract is used to supplement our workforce in our networks department in replacing water mains and installing an extension of new water mains at various sites within Orleans Parish. This first renewal is an amount of $3.3 million for an additional year through April 10th of 2025. The fourth item is Resolution R067-2024. That is the second and final renewal of Contract 8166, repaving open cuts and sidewalks and driveways resulting from the repair of Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans underground utilities between Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Wallace E. Drennan Incorporated. This is, again, our ongoing maintenance contract on paving that's performed by outside contractors. And as this contract is, this renewal, second and final renewal, an amount of $1.25 million and extending the contract for an additional year. This contract is, paving contract is very effective. The backlog on paving is now right at 1,300 jobs. So it's a vast improvement from where we are a couple of years ago. The last renewal is Resolution R068-2024's first renewal of contract 30246. It's the restoration of gravity sanitary sewer mains by point repair at various sites throughout Orleans Parish. And this is, again, between Sewage and Water Board and Wallace E. Drennan. It is our maintenance point repair contract. It's an O&M funded contract with Networks doing sewer mains and various sewer infrastructure repairs throughout the city of New Orleans. This renewal in the same terms and conditions, an amount of $3.44 million, extending the contract through May of 2025.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spooner. May we have a resolution to approve contract award resolutions R050-2024, excuse me, R057-2024, R059-2024, R067-2024, and R068-2024.
So move.
Is there a second? Excuse me, is there any discussion? Yes, Ms. Howard.
I am still trying to understand the Frischard's Barnes contract. If the final costs, which increased 21 million, are reasonable, it seems to me there was something wrong up front. And can you explain, can someone explain this before we have a vote on this matter? I know the analysis was done by Jacobs, right? But how did we end up there?
Very good question, Ms. Howard. Several factors. What was indicated with the Budget Committee meeting by Executive Director and team. One, there was some shortage on the funding, not on the estimate in the order of $4 to $6 million of various estimates that were not included in the bid based upon changes during the bid phase. We do acknowledge that.
Okay.
And the other components, what we realize is, one is market conditions. This is a very complex contract. It is somewhat of a very specialized contract. It's not a normal contract. And we believe that the winning bidder, the risk associated with this contract really, we believe, brought that price up. And with only one bid being received, that increased that bid price. We did make a good effort to reach out to 13 or 15 different vendors to make contact with those vendors to try and get participation to bid on it. But again, there's no rhyme or reason why we did get more bidders except to say the risk adverse put in that. And then the main factor, we believe that the one contract really marked up that price quite a bit due to the complexity of this contract. So it's not our normal run-of-the-mill contract. There are some specialized aspects associated with this contract that probably drove up the cost. And there's some engineering components that the contractor must perform associated with that contract that we believe really drove that price up.
Sounds like there are a lot of factors. I mean, it's two people teaming up together. I think one of them had the expertise, the other one had the manpower, and sounds like it was an unusual situation. Nevertheless, we got one bid and we have to do it. We don't have to do it, but it's the last big step in the power complex. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, is there any public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
No public comment. So we'll take all these in, I'll just ask to take all of them, so that's what's going to happen. All in favor, please so say so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. We have two change order ratifications, which we'll take in Globo as well. Please, Mr. Spooner.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The first change order is Resolution R056-2024. That is a ratification of change order number 12 for contract 3799. And that's associated with the installation of the sludge dryer at the East Bank Wastewater Treatment Plant between the Sewage and Water Board and industrial mechanical contractors. This change order number 12 really is for the supply and the installation of what they call a Rosemont 3051 differential transmitter within one of our pieces of equipment at the East Bank Wastewater Treatment Plant. And this change order is in the amount of $19,477.52. The next change order is a ratification of change order number Resolution R063-2024. That's a ratification of change order number 4, contract 1415, associated with the West Power Complex foundations and underground package. This change order is associated with the additional work of additional pile supports and additional piles that were driven and purchased for electrical manholes, which increased the quantity of the unit bid price currently in the contract. This change order is in the amount of $234,043.79.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? I was interested in the term underground package, there's a big rack up above, right?
Yes, the rack is the above ground to
I guess my
carry.
question is, what's the underground package?
The underground package is in the complex itself, where that's the duct bank. Instead of above ground, it goes underground, where it actually connects all of our critical components with Turbine 7, static frequency converters, our transformers, our operations center, our inner operation. So it actually ties those components and then sends the power through the rack to our brain of the facility, which is central control.
So it's an interface between the rack and the equipment?
Yes, sir. So it just goes from above ground to underground.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion, and it's been properly seconded. Is there any other discussion at the underground package? No. Is there any public comment on this? Public comment, Chair. All in favor, please so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have two contract final acceptances.
Two amendments?
Missed something?
2 minutes.
Contract amendments.
Right.
So sorry.
Yes, sir. The two
two
amendments, the first one is Resolution R-060-2024. That's the authorization of contract amendment number 4 to the professional services agreement for consultant services for managing the preparation, selection, and implementation of the advanced metering infrastructure solution between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Jacobs Engineering Group. This is AKA our smart meter amendment, and this amendment is for additional support for the consultant to oversee the integration of smart meters into the network, ensuring the ability to provide accurate bills and provide a tool for the pre versus post smart metering billing analysis for not to exceed an amount of $225,300. The second amendment is associated with professional services agreement. That's Resolution R-062-2024, authorization of amendment number 4 between the professional services agreement for the consultant services of our on-call water valve operation services between Sewage and Water Board and Pure Technology doing business as WAC, Water Services. This is our contract working solely in conjunction with our JIR program. It is professional services with operating valves, opening and closing for the large JIR project. This amendment extends the annual contract 1 year to March of 2025 at a value of $1.594 million.
So the two contract amendments, may I have a motion to approve contract amendment resolutions R-060-2024 and R-062-2024?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Hearing none, all in favor, please so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Bringing us to two contract final acceptances.
Yes, the first final acceptance is Resolution R-058-2024. That is the authorization of final acceptance of Contract 2158, water main point repair, water service connection, water valve and fire hydrant replacement at various sites throughout Orleans Parish between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Wallace C. Drennan Incorporated. This is pretty much close out this contract that was done, and the General Superintendent is asking approval of the final acceptance of this contract. The next final acceptance is Resolution R-061-2024. That is the authorization of final acceptance of Contract 2021, which is 60-inch to a force main repair on Florida Avenue between Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Bull Brothers Construction Company and LLC. This work is all complete. It has been accepted, and the General Superintendent's office is asking for final acceptance of this contract.
So may we have a motion, thank you, Mr. Turner. May we have a motion to approve final acceptance, Resolution 058, R-058, 2024, 061, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and probably seconded. Is there any discussion on these? No. Any public comment? No public comment. All in favor, please so signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. We have the usual, we have actually 3, which seems to me to be less than usual, but maybe I'm wrong about that, items for your review. Are there any other public comments?
None.
Ron, are your plans public?
Yes, somewhat, yes.
What's that?
Yes, yes.
I'd like to just say, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'd like to say it's been a pleasure working with you for these years, and I appreciate the effective and efficient job you've done, and wish you the very best in your future.
Yeah, thank you, POCO. And I also like to thank the board as well as staff. It's been a good 29 years. And
Long time.
I said I wouldn't go get emotional, but it's been a good 29 years at Surgeon Water Board. I enjoyed working here. Actually, I had two stints here. I get my composure. I got 2 stints here. I worked here from 1993 to 2004, and I decided I want to go back to California to work. You know, I enjoyed the West Coast, and then I came back after Hurricane Katrina. I mean, what a previous executive director asked, hey, if you ever think about it, help rebuild, and that's why I came back. So I enjoyed my 29 years with the Surgeon Water Board. Thank the board members for supporting myself, as well as the previous general superintendents. I worked under as deputy. I started a very long time, briefing. I think I started with Bruce Adams and Bob Turner. Now with myself in the interim for a little while, and then Steve Nelson and Kassan Koban. So thank everyone, thank the staff, and I looking forward to retirement. Got some home improvement projects already, and I actually started my other sport I'm gonna get back into with our favorite legal mentor help me out in golf. So I started that the other day.
Than this.
And
That's not me. It's not me.
Yeah, so I hit some balls the other day, and I really enjoyed myself. So Gaston said, "Oh, you look refreshed." Well, that's why I look refreshed. I mean, but again, thanks everyone. Thanks the board of directors, and especially thank the staff.
Yeah.
This is truly a second family without a doubt, and I'd like to thank all the employees, operations, downtown. It's been a pleasure, and I will enjoy retirement. So thank you.
Thank you, and best wishes. Okay. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
They've been quiet today. I guess they're worried about the rain. In that case, how about a motion to adjourn?
So move.
1 second.
Okay, all in favor, so, aye.
Aye.
You guys are quick enough for POCO.
Cautious about
Say something? No. All right.